Welcome into the light. So I want to give a very quick, small update regarding the Ashlee Buzzard case. And this is important if you are somebody that is going to be continually attending the case and somebody that intends to be there throughout her trial. Now, shortly after her last appearance on January 26th, I do see now that a motion was filed to admonish spectators. So what does that mean? Now, first of all, let me start off by saying this is nothing out of the ordinary. This is typical. So I just want to let you know, okay? Let me explain what it means to admonish spectators in the courtroom. Now, a motion to admonish spectators can be filed by the defense or the prosecution. Now, this is very common, especially in a homicide case where there are very high emotions. Now, it asks the judge to instruct the audience and spectators that are in the courtroom to refrain from things like emotional outbursts, gestures, or wearing items such as t-shirts with the victim's picture. Anything that could give prejudice to the jury. Now, I pulled up an example of a motion specifically in a homicide case and what that sounds like. So I'm going to read that through just so you can kind of get a feel for what this sounds like, okay? So this says, comes now the defendant by and through their counsel, right? For an order instructing all spectators, including victims' family members, to refrain from any emotional outbursts, displays of affection, or visible signs of grief or anger in the presence of the jury, and in support thereof of states. The defendant is charged with first-degree homicide in the above case. Trial set to begin. It's anticipated that members of the victim's family and other spectators will be present in the courtroom. Now, while the state and victims have the right to be present, it is well established that a defendant has the right to a fair trial, free from prejudicial influence, as guaranteed by the 6th and 14th Amendments to the United States Constitution. Emotional outbursts such as sobbing, clapping, or yelling, or symbolic displays, wearing pictures of the deceased, t-shirts, or buttons during critical stages of the trial, including jury selection, opening statements, and testimony, can create an intolerable risk that the jury will be unduly influenced by passion or prejudice. The defendant fears that if such behavior occurs, the jury may feel pressured to reach a verdict based on sympathy for the victim or emotional reaction to the crowd rather than the evidence presented. Now, the important thing here are rights, and defendants do have rights to a fair trial, and you cannot influence a jury. They have to make their decisions based on evidence. So this is incredibly common in the courtroom. If you violate this in a courtroom, the bailiff and deputies will simply be instructed to enforce these rules and remove you from the courtroom, and it's very possible that you can be removed permanently from the courtroom. The other reality here that is very difficult is when cases like this go to trial and evidence starts being presented. There can be some horrific things that come out, and you absolutely, unfortunately, have to hold within those emotions. You can't have emotional outbursts. So some people do choose to stay out of courtrooms on specific days where it's going to be known that difficult evidence, maybe photos, other testimony is going to be presented to avoid those outbursts. Now, the other side of the coin too is if too much of this happens, right? You don't want to put anything out there that can influence an appeal. So I just wanted to give a little bit of a heads up. I do watch the live Zooms for Ashlee's court hearings, and I do see, the Justice for Melody shirts. So I don't want it to be a surprise necessarily or a shock to those that go to these. This will come up in the next hearing, which, as I can see, is scheduled for February 11th in the courtroom. So this will come up, and from my experience, this will absolutely be granted. So I just wanted to let anybody that intends to be in this courtroom to be aware of what's going to occur. Let me know your thoughts, and if you have any other questions below, I'm happy to try to answer the best that I can. Thank you as always for tuning in. Make sure that you are following me for more updates on this case and many others that I report on. As always, I will see you all in the next one.